So how I lost £76,000 in one construction project. So I've worked in construction since 2003. I started as an apprentice bricklayer, worked my way through, completing full house renovations, extension, became a project manager, and eventually started my own building company. So more than 20 years in the industry. So I've made my mistakes, solved problems, and learned, some expensive lessons. But none were expensive as the lesson that cost me 76 grand. So this happened on a large luxury property in one of the most exclusive areas of the UK. The house was amazing. It was all Portland stone, sandstone between. It had been sold as an unfinished project, and the new owners purchased the property and wanted, significant changes made before moving in. So the project included a whole new layout, finishing off all the bathrooms, moving the staircase, and that had to be custom sort of oak with steel spindles. All new windows, the opening sizes had to be completely changed through. That's every window. And then like an outbuilding as well, again to match all Portland stone and sandstone. They also wanted, it was really top notch. So they had all intelligent lighting, and so this became a year-long project for us. So at the beginning, everything went well. The clients were friendly, communication was good, everyone got on well, my team, and everyone was excited about, the finished result. So the contract was constructed as what we call it was a negotiated contract sum. So each month we submitted valuations for the work that we completed, and the clients had a quantity surveyor that reviewed and approved those evaluations before we could even issue an invoice for payment. So everything had to be, signed off, best quality. So on paper it looked like a professional arrangement, but looking back now, there were warning signs that I missed. As the project progressed, the clients constantly changed their minds, whether it was, the layouts, the finishes that they wanted. Just a scenario, we had 13 different layouts for the ensuite. This was just in one room. So, it was full design. It was decisions were being changed all the time. And the instructions were not often given directly without proper communication through the architect or formally documented. At the time, we were more focused on solving problems and keeping the project moving. I guess we all do as builders. We just want to get our heads down and get on with the project, keep things moving. And like many builders, I thought getting the work done was the most important thing. And I was wrong. As the months passed, the atmosphere completely changed. My team were constantly showing their concerns. The clients, they became increasingly frustrated, and quite aggressive sometimes in what they were saying. They were showing frustration with the program. They were saying we were being too slow. But despite many of the delays being caused by them, all the changes that they had requested themselves, it was continuous. The meetings become more difficult. Conversations become more confrontational, very bullish in there, very sort of frowns and, a lot of emotions. The relationship began to break down. Eventually, we completed the main house or the main residence. We were still doing bits on the new outbuilding, and the clients moved closer to occupation. And from the outset, it looked like a successful project. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. So payments would be, well, they were getting slower every month, every few weeks, every month, and it was always being pushed back. Instead of being paid sort of promptly, invoices were running months behind. That should have been a major warning sign. And again, the foreman that I had, my other subcontractors, obviously we were all talking, they were all, they were getting really concerned. Everyone was talking to me saying we need to be careful. But obviously you get too deep into a project, you can't bail because I've got so much tied up, tens and tens of thousands. What do? Do you walk? Do you stay? And then come the moment I will never forget. The clients hired an external consultant to review the project. And again, this was very one-sided. This consultant didn't see the way that we were treated and all the changes, all the can you just do this? And after looking through everything, the client decided they believed, they had paid enough money. They believed they had already sort of paid enough. And at that point, there was still, just under 80,000 outstanding. So it wasn't £8,000, it wasn't 800 quid, but £76,000. So clients eventually made an offer after it was a one offer deal. You take it or the legal stuff started. So they made a £20,000 take it or leave it. And after a year of work, after completing the project, after delivering everything that had been asked for, they wanted to pay a fraction of what was owed. So I saw advice from someone that I trusted, someone that I knew very high up in the legal sort of world. The answer was brutally simple, really. Without the right paperwork and the lack of paperwork, proving the claim would be extremely difficult. Many of the changes, the instructions, the agreements had not been documented as thoroughly as they should have been. We had done the work. The house reflected the work. It was immaculate. It was all, there were different contractors all come in that were working direct and said how amazing the place looked. It was just like a high-end show home. The house reflected the work, but proving every instruction, every variation, every agreement is a different matter entirely. And that's where I made the biggest mistake of my career. The most expensive mistake wasn't on the building site. It wasn't choosing the wrong subcontractors, my team. It wasn't a construction error. We fulfilled everything that the client asked and the architect submitted, all the drawings, the engineers, everything was passed, building control, engineers, everything. It was failing to make sure that every change, every instruction, and every variation was properly documented. Even if there was a phone call, I should have sent an email, as per telephone conversation, this is as it is. And that lesson cost me. That cost me 76 grand. Today, I still believe in solving problems and helping clients achieve what they want, but I also believe that paperwork matters. We all let it slip. If you're a builder, document everything. If you're a project manager, again, document everything. Photographs. We've all got phones now. Take the photographs, dates, times, conversations. Unless it's in writing, unless it's signed, verbal conversations do not exist. If you're a homeowner, again, document everything. Because when the relationships are good, nobody worries about paperwork. It's only when relationships break down that you discover how important it really is. And unfortunately, I learned that lesson the hard way. So just to recap, when we're doing these projects, whether you're a homeowner, whether you're a builder, paperwork matters. We all think, we'll sort it out, we'll do it tomorrow. It doesn't work. It's annoying. It takes time, but you've got to document everything. So everyone needs to know, what's happening. And then, if the worst does happen, you can lay everything out, all the emails, all the evidence. This is what you said. This is when you said it, the day and time. It's crucial. Don't make the same mistakes I did. If this video is relative to you, comment, of course, like, share, follow, subscribe to this channel. It'll mean a lot, all helps out. And I can keep sharing my stories.